appreciate it. Love this movie, one of my all-time favorites. So my question is, the scene where Smalls, hits the baby Ruth ball over the fence. Do you guys have any, memories when you were kids about some kind of situation like that where you're like, oh man, this is like the point of no return, and you're like, there's no coming back from this.
I think every time the ball went over the fence when you were a kid,
it was
dramatic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
One time I asked my mom for 5 more minutes playing outside, and she was like, no. And I'm like, I need 5 more minutes to play with my friends. So eventually she said no, and so I stayed outside the extra 5 minutes. And I remember I was playing baseball, and I fell and hit my head on the middle of the road and busted it open. Nothing terrible, but it was bloody or whatever. And I ran back inside, and she was like, this is why you listen to me. And I was so scared to go back inside. And as soon as I hit the ground, I was like, man, not worth it. She was right. So maybe that's my moment, maybe. But yeah.
Next question. Yep.
When you guys were filming the scene with the Beast or Hercules, how did the dog perform? Did it take a lot of time? Did it take just 20 minutes? Or do you have any stories about the dog?
Yeah, they had 3 dogs. They had one really big one, but then for the running, they had still big, but not as big as the other one. But they would take buckets of water and throw them on the dogs because it was so hot. And they're really big dogs, so they're always drooling, and you have to cool them off. But
They did it with us too.
yeah, they did do
Buckets of water.
But yeah, they were really nice. They're really nice dogs.
They wouldn't let us hang out. Saying they wouldn't let us is the wrong approach, but we weren't really allowed to get to know the dogs on the set either because, as animals, they're actors. They're trained to hit marks. They're trained to do things. So if we had gotten too close to them and they'd started to recognize us as being familiar, they wouldn't listen to the trainers and all of that. So we were kind of like introduced to the dogs so that we could meet them and feel comfortable enough around them. We were, 9 to 12 years old. And then they're like, cool, we're going to take these dogs away. And if you're filming with them, they'll be on set. And if not, that's that. So we really didn't get a lot of time with them at all.
There were a lot of little rules like that I'm starting to wonder, was that the truth?
Yeah.
We just so bad that they just wanted to keep us out of everything.
I think that's
Yeah, they really didn't trust us at all.
Don't do this, don't do that.
Put down those fireworks.
So out of all of you 6, who was the best baseball player?
Us 6.
Mike.
Out of you.
Oh, us.
Oh, out of us?
Probably Shane.
Shane.
Well, you were the youngest.
Yeah.
How old were you when you made
I was 9 when we filmed, and I turned 10 on set. We went to a water park in Utah for my birthday party.
That's right, we did.
Raging
do that with
Waters.
the water slide.
Raging
Raging
Waters.
Waters,
That place is
yeah.
dope.
Yeah, no, yeah.
So
That had the
back-
bungee jump on it too, right?
Yeah.
We tried to convince our parents to let us go bungee jumping, and the
Yes.
producers were not gonna let us jump off a bungee tower.
Yeah.
So who was the best baseball player?
Mike. Benny.
Out of you 6.
Mike.
Oh, out of us 6?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Brandon, honestly.
Brandon was a little older than us too.
Yeah.
So,
No, he was legit.
yeah, I'd
Next
say
question.
Brandon. You didn't like the answer?
Yeah.
It had to have a little twist to it.
How-
You had an age advantage.
How fast was the
Yeah.
heater?
How fast is the
Alright,
heater?
we have a question.
Oh, what?
How
What was
fast was the heater?
that heater?
Oh, good 97. It's a heater, man.
If you have to ask, you can't hit it.
Exactly.
So, they brought a minor league baseball player in to train you guys, right? And then Brandon, who did you pitch? Who did you have to pitch like?
Oh, man, I always forget this man's name.
Was it Juan Marsh?
Juan Marichal. Yeah, that was the director. He had me study Juan Marichal and do the whole high leg,
The 4th of July scene is great because it has like the slow-mo of you doing that wind up.
Right, yeah.
And they had Chauncey. Who was Chauncey supposed to be?
Willie Mays.
To catch the ball like that.
They cut out a lot of stuff with Chauncey in the movie, Squints in the movie, because he had a transistor radio, and he was always listening to Willie Mays, because Willie Mays was about to beat the record that year.
Maury Wills.
Oh, that's it.
Stolen base record.
Maury Wills. And yeah, but there was a good, probably 10 minutes cut out of all that stuff. I'm always
Well, it
listening
was
to
like a
radio.
whole thing. Every time Maury stole a base, Benny had to steal a base.
That's right.
To keep up with him. So Chauncey was always listening to the games, and he would announce it when anytime Maury stole a base, and then Benny would have to go and steal it.
That's right. Yeah.
I hated that they cut out
Yeah.
us cleaning the Sandlot. That was my favorite thing. They
When we
cut
built
out.
it in the beginning of the
Yeah,
movie?
like we were like mowing the yard when we came back on our break. I remember seeing that, like, I don't know if it was in dailies or later on and they cut it out, but I thought that was great because we actually cleaned it up and kind of made it our own. And I thought that was important in the story, but I guess not.
Yeah, the Maury Wills one was really interesting too, because in that scene where Benny busts the guts out of the baseball, the scene prior to that was a couple of them at the Vincent drugstore buying these packs of baseball cards. And when Benny opens up his pack of cards, they're all Maury Wills cards in there, right? Which is impossible to get in a baseball pack. So then Benny's like, oh, whatever, and puts them away. And then he busts the guts out of the baseball. So when somebody in the cast goes, oh, it's an omen, like there's a whole Maury Wills subplot that went through the movie. And if you look really closely in the Dodgers scene, Maury Wills is the third base coach, actually, because he was a coach for the Dodgers for a really long time. So it really tied that whole thing together. And it's a real bummer that all that got cut.
Another question? Yes.
What was everyone's most fun scene to film?
Mine was going over the fence, going on that harness thing. That was fun. And the whole thing, that actually came from the director's like, when you come back up, just lose your mind. And I was like, lose my mind, okay? Like, and I used to watch like Bugs Bunny cartoons, and he'd go like, and then take off and whatever. So I was like, all right, and then the director was like, okay, that works.
It did work really well.
Yeah, it was weird.
Anything in the treehouse, I have a lot of good memories of all of us doing stuff in the treehouse. And I remember when we weren't in a scene, most of us would go in there and like hang out.
Yeah.
So it was almost like almost like a little hangout. So I remember that. Those are special to me. I like those.
Yeah. The pool was fun, even though it was freezing, but that was fun. Just being in the pool and goofing around and stuff in there. So that was pretty fun to film.
All filming, we were waiting for that pool scene because the summer was so hot. And then what happened? The day before we filmed pool,
It was
the day of.
Day of.
They
coldest
just filled it.
day of the summer.
Yeah.
In like record history in Salt Lake City.
And didn't they
Never
just
been that cold.
change the water in the pool?
The day before or
Yeah,
something
it was
like
like
that.
freezing.
Yeah, they drained the pool, put new water in, and it was like, there's a scene, if you watch it, you can see Chauncey Squintz's teeth chattering. And that's real. We were all literally almost freezing.
Yeah.
When we got out of the water, we had people run over to us and put us in big towels. So.
My favorite
Maybe
scene
you
in the
did.
movie is
I
the
don't
4th of July scene to watch. But filming wise, I like the scene in the treehouse where Squints, the camp out, where Squints tells the story about the beast. Because it was fun because it was one of the only interior scenes we all got to be in together, and it was air conditioned because they didn't film it in the real treehouse. They filmed it in
A soundstage.
a soundstage, so it was nice and air conditioned.
Yeah.
And we all got to play off each other a little bit more, and it was cool. It was just a lot of fun.
Because the real treehouse, the one that was in the movie, was practical, right? Which means that everything in it was built. They actually brought that tree in. It was going to be chopped down somewhere else in Salt Lake City, and the production bought the tree and relocated it and
put on
sewed
each
fake
leaf.
leaves onto the tree so that the leaves wouldn't change or fall off.
All the leaves were fake.
So all the leaves were silk leaves that were all sewn onto that tree, which is insane. It was
If
the
you go to
most expensive
Sandlot-
part of the movie.
If you go to the
was
Sandlot to
tree.
this day, you can find those leaves all
Yeah,
over.
all
Yeah,
over.
Shane found them.
Yeah, I actually have some in my office at home.
25 years later,
I still
we
have
were
the
walking
fake
around the
leaves.
lot and we found the silk leaves.
And we were kicking up some dirt kind of where we thought where the tree was, and we're like, wait a second. We pulled some up. They're still there. Yeah.
Another question? Yeah.
How long, I'm always curious, like, since you guys were younger when you filmed this, how long did it take for you to memorize your lines?
Well,
Shane, it took a long time for Shane.
Yeah, I played repeats.
That's however long it took Victor to learn his
Yeah,
lines.
right.
It's a shame.
well, they do. They'll give you call sheets.
Yeah.
So they'll tell you what you're going to film the next day,
Right.
and then you just go home and then you'll study the lines for the next day.
Yeah.
Which is usually like 2 or 3 scenes they'll do. They won't do any more usually than that. So it's usually not too bad, especially for kids. You know, some kids are good at remembering lines and some aren't. But yeah, it wasn't too bad.
There was a decent amount of improv too. The director would stand off camera and like yell stuff at us. He wrote the movie as well. So we'd be doing something, he'd say, hey, do that thing or say that thing that you said the other day when you were goofing around, and a lot of that. So there was probably not just as much, but there was a fair amount of stuff that just kind of came from us getting to know each other and build our own relationships.
Were any of you guys really starstruck with James Earl Jones, seeing that he was a Star
Oh, I
Wars?
think we all were, yeah. Absolutely, but Marty's got
Bugs Bunny over here.
a great.
So my mom's like, I'm gonna take you to meet Darth Vader one day, and so she took me to his trailer, and he was eating breakfast or whatever, and I go, are you Darth Vader? And he goes, I am your father.
I gave him some acting tips, I was like, No, he was a great guy. He was really nice.
But again, they were like, don't talk to James Earl Jones.
Really?
I was like,
Were they like that with Dennis Leary and Karen?
Everybody.
Yeah, one too.
Dennis Leary was extremely friendly. Right, Tom?
Guy's the best. Best stepdad a guy could have.
Another question?
Really? They just kept telling y'all couldn't go and talk to them?
Yeah, like I said, now that I think back on it, I just think we were bad. and I mean, just trying to wrangle us all up. It wasn't even like work. It was just like we were hanging out for the summer. So I think they needed to do some of that so we wouldn't just be all over the place.
Run amok.
There had to be boundaries, yeah.
So being the kids, did you guys take anything from the set or acquire anything from the set?
They won't let you take anything. Nothing.
Brandon? What are you?
Whoa, what are you
about to
say?
say?
Are you holding
You don't have
out?
anything either?
No, I don't have nothing.
I know you got duck stuff. So.
I remember.
I have my Bertram hat. I found it the other day, not the other day, a few months ago. I found it.
The back of our director's chairs all had our last name on them, so I still have mine. And then it was cool when they finished filming. They sent us all these Sandlot themed shoe boxes,
Oh yeah.
and inside was Sandlot.
That was for the tour, though.
Was that for the tour?
That was the press kit for the tour.
Oh, I thought that was
Well, if
for-
you're just talking about hats and chairs, maybe I did.
Any other questions? We'll take two more.
The carnival scene, kind of a memorable scene. How did you guys film that? Were they just pretend to throw up, or?
Oh,
They strapped the camera on just to one of the carts, so we all took turns, taking that seat to get our close-up thing. And by the end of it, I think we all went on that ride like 50 times. I think we all got pretty sick of that ride at the end of it.
The tobacco was actually beef jerky and black licorice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the puke was beef barley soup and split pea soup.
Split pieces.
And they just threw it on us.
Yeah. It was gross.
Yeah. Filming it was great. I remember the director. I always like to tell the story because it kind of brings us closer. But I remember the director, and maybe it was just me. I hope not. But he asked me, and he told me he asked everybody else if we were scared to go on the ride. Because we were younger, and he didn't want us to make us do anything we didn't want to do. And looking back, I always thought that was very nice for him to go out and make sure we were completely comfortable with what we had to do. And of course, we all did it, whether we were scared or not. I absolutely was scared. And it was just really nice. I always remember that.
If you said you were scared, you were fired on the spot.
Basically, he threatened my life.
the director he kept threatening to fire us every time we would do something wrong. He'd be like, if you do that again, you're all fired.
That's true.
Oh, okay. So I think each of us got fired a dozen times while we were making that movie.
One more question. Yep.
What was the real reason Birdman stayed in the 60s?
Honestly, I have no idea. I've never asked why David wrote it that way. It just fit.
Guys, cheaper back then.
Either that or he ran out of stuff by the time he got to writing mine. He's like, I don't know, we'll just get that kid lost in the 60s. Move on.
One of us had to get into drugs, right?
Is that what it's on?
I think so.
All right, I appreciate you guys coming out, and thank you guys for a great panel.
Thank you
Thanks for
guys.
listening.
Yeah.